Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'd like to welcome everyone to this session of America's Islamic Heritage Museum about the history of Muslims in America and the military. And one of the reasons why I chose to do this because we just did a fundraiser on Facebook, and I heard so much bigotry and hatred and ignorance that it was just unbelievable. So I think it's appropriate to talk about Muslims' presence in history in American wars, in all American wars, from the Revolutionary War to War of 1812, World War One, World War Two. We fought in all American wars. We've been a part of American fabric, and I think it's important for people to take a understanding of it. We found Muslims or people with Islamic names that were part of the Revolutionary War, the Marine songs, and you see the influence of Islam and many military events. One of the Marine songs, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. The saber, the sword that the Marines have. They got that when they conquered the Algerians, and the Pasha, the Bey of Algiers, gave them that sword. They've been carrying that ever since. We found at least three soldiers that were fought in the Continental War that had revolutionary names to it: Yusuf bin Ali, Babit Muhammad. Then we knew two of them that they identified as African American, Peter Sloan and Salim Poor. These are some of the records on them. Yusuf bin Ali became known as Joseph bin Heli. This bin Heli family still exists in the Sumter, South Carolina area. Babbitt Muhammad was a corporal in the Virginia area. We know about the Peter Salim and Salim Poor, African American history books. Then there's Francis Saba, Joseph Saba. Then the War of 1812, there was three people that was listed that had Islamic names. You got Bilali Muhammad, who was the famous plantation manager of those Africans that were enslaved in Sappo Island in the War of 1812 against the British. And then you got another Jacob Amin, who was a private who worked with the military group, militia in the Norfolk area, as well as John Amin. This here is a newspaper article that's talking about the heroic deeds and the battles of Salim Poor. This here is a postage stamp honoring Salim Poor and his battles on Bunker Hill. We know in American books that they'll say they use the word say as Salem, but if you look in the dictionary, you'll see that word Salim or Salem root word is an Arabic root word, and which means peace. So you have them taking on these Islamic names, which are the names of peace. Same thing with Peter Salim or Peter Salem, who also fought in the Bunker Hill. These are postage stamps that were honoring their presence in those battles up in the New England area, and his tombstone. These are other two couple Africans that these are tombstones of Revolutionary War heroes, and you got one named Kondo Zandel, and then you got Juba Freeman and Peter Gibbs. These are Africans or people of African American heritage. These are revolutionary markers in the Milford, Connecticut area. This is a record of another African American who's called Juba Freeman. His records in the 1700s during the Revolutionary War. Down in the Civil War, we found at least 292 people that had their Islamic names. You got John Amin, William Amin, Benjamin. They fought for the Union troops. You got Peter Ali. You got Frederick Hameen, Joseph Hameen. Albert Hassan, Amos Hassan. Here you got Max Hassan, who is listed as African American and worked with the United States Color Troop. You got Ewell Hassan, with also with the Color Troop. Here you got Adel Muhammad, who was a pirate up in Maine. You got this Luke Muhammad or this El Muhammad, who has really fought with the Confederates. Then Nicholas Mateen. But then you got this Barkay Usman, who also was listed as an African American who worked with the Colored Troop. Then you got Henry Rockman, Samuel Rockman, Fritz Rockman. You had different people with the name Rockman. This is Max Hassan's records. United States Colored Troop Max Hassan came directly from Africa, worked as a porter, and he came in Providence area. And here you got Nicholas Said, who also known as Muhammad Said. His records. Here is a painting. You look, these look like your Union soldiers dressed in Union uniform, but they're not. You look at them. They got your turbans, and then they got your Islamic Algerians pants, clothing, what they call zavar clothing. And there was modeled after the Algerians, and in one group, this is the group that they will help win the Battle of Fredericksburg, and they fought in many different battles. This is in one of the museums in the Fredericksburg area of the turban and the uniform that they wore. This is the same type of uniform that the Muslims or the soldiers used in the islands, on a couple of the islands, in the Moorish clothing. And these are some actual photographs of the brothers, where that you have some of them that was immigrants that came here and fought, and that's how they got their citizenship. Then you got some Europeans just modeled after them because they was famous warriors, Algerian warriors, were dressed like that. And they fought in many battles all around, and there was many regiments all throughout the United States. Another group of Muslims or people that was part of the war efforts during the Civil War period was at least two of them. One was named Hajj Ali, became nicknamed known as Hajj Ali. And the other one named was August Muhammad. He helped establish this town called Muhammad, Texas. There was part of a group of 3 camel herders that the U.S. government used to go out west. They brought 75 camels to go out west, and there was part of the camel group, Hajj Ali and Muhammad, George Muhammad was part of that Civil War era group that the government used camels to go out. Also during the Civil War, the Union troops went down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and went to burn down the whole town. And the librarian said, "Can we save some books?" And they said, "No, there's one book you can save." And so they ran in and saved. This was the only book saved from the building, the University Library, which was destroyed by fire during the Civil War. And is the Quran. Is a George Sells translation. It was 1857 version. This translation still exists today and is on display. It was the only book that was saved during the Civil War in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Here you got another record. This is the census records in the 1880 census records out in Carbon, Wyoming, way out in Wyoming. Listed the soldiers. Here you got a B.A. Muhammad, private soldier coming from Africa, listed as a soldier with the name Muhammad. In World War I, using only 118 different Muslim last names, we found listed at least 5,470 soldiers with Islamic last names during the World War One draft and enlistment record registrations. There was 41 different, matter of fact, there was 41 different spellings of the name Muhammad in the draft and enlistment records. Over 550 people. There was 550 people listed and 41 different ways in the way they spelled the name Muhammad. The most popular spelling of the name was the Muhammad. That was the most popular spelling of the name. Then you had Muhammad, Mohamed, had 180. Next was Muhammad, a Turkish spelling, 112. Then you had Muhammad, Moaammed, 69 spellings. So there's 41 different ways in spelling the name Muhammad, and these are the most four popular spelling of the name. The most popular last name was Hassan. Hassan, if I'm not mistaken, there was over 723 people had the last name Hassan spelled with the A. 448 people had the names Hassan with the O. Then you had Ali, spelled different versions of Ali and different versions of Malik. And then Mustafa. These were some of those popular names. During World War I era, Muslims came from many places from all around the world. Some came from towns and cities in Syria like Yatanet, Sultan Jacob, Nasrallah, Damascus, El Dabi, Elah, Lipan, and so forth, Mount Lebanon. These are some of the areas, and in towns in Turkey. So what you see in the records is that it talks about some of the towns where they came from, in Turkey, in Albania, in Palestine, in Austria, Poland, from around the world. It tells you the different places and towns with the Muslims where they came from, and for the Americans. Some for the citizenship, some already had the citizenship. During World War II, you had John Omar, a technical sergeant. And you had others. Now we're moving up to the 1980s. This is Brother Salim Mateen and his wife, Aisha Dumateen, his graduation. The first Muslim chaplain of the army, Muhammad, Chaplain Muhammad Abdul Rashid, was the first Muslim chaplain of the U.S. Army. This was his inauguration into the service. And since then, since 1994, there's been many others that have come chaplain of the Army and of the Marines and other services. This is Hillary Clinton acknowledged him in 1996. He gave Hillary Clinton a Quran at the iftar, or the first iftar that the government held out or hosted for the general Muslim public at that time. This is Chaplain Muhammad with President George Bush. This is Chaplain Muhammad receiving his award. This is another chaplain, Saiful Islam, chaplain of the Navy. You had Chaplain Noel. There's more than a dozen Muslim chaplains now all throughout the United States, armed services. And this is Brother Zendel, who's been working very instrumental at the Pentagon, working with the different Muslim organizations and groups of interfaith. These are other Muslim chaplains and other Muslim soldiers as well. This is Lieutenant Colonel Hassan Ali. Back in 2010, she became the first Lieutenant Colonel, first Muslim woman to achieve that rank of Lieutenant Colonel. And she was being awarded that then. You had Chaplain Sister Commander Aisha Muhammad, who was the first Muslim woman to attain a commission as a line officer in the armed services. You have Lieutenant Colonel Basima, Najila. So you see Muslim women, a lot of Muslim women, and this is Chaplain Noel. You see that there's a lot of Muslim women that have played a very instrumental part in the U.S. military in all aspects and all branches, from Marines, Navy, U.S. Air Force, and so forth. And you see the growth of your Muslim cadets in the Navy and in the chaplain service in the Marines. Uh, it's a broad range of Muslims engagement from all walks of life. This here is a symbol of the Muslim American Veteran Association, which is called MARVA. This is a Muslim Veteran Association that has national offices around the country. These are some of the early founders of the Muslim Veteran Association. These are some of your Muslim families at Muslim events and at the Pentagon, at some of the iftars. A wide range of Muslims that has been part of the services of our country, getting commissions, getting awards. And then you had your fallen Muslim soldiers. One of the unique things about that is that they give them a crescent on. This is a friend that I knew, Warren Carter. We know him as Brother Mujahid of the Boy Scouts of Master Muhammad. His brother Omar Rashid Hassan. His two more brothers. These brothers fought in the Vietnam War. Lloyd Campbell and William Bell. Non-Islamic names, but they you got them with the crescent, saying they're Muslims. And the other one was known as Tariq. Here's Omar, World War II vet. This is Omar. You look at America's true diversity from a Jewish, two different types of Christians, and a Muslim. This is showing you America's true diversity. This is more Persian Gulf and the Vietnam War. Here you got there's Omar Talib Shabazz. The Shabazz is a very famous name for members from the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X, Malcolm Shabazz. This is the Sullivan Ellis. This brother here may be the first one that got it. He died in 1966. So his name is Sullivan Ellis, but we know him as Sultan Muhammad. He's the brother that ran Milwaukee, or Milwaukee mastered his name after him. He was the third, when Elijah Muhammad got arrested, he was the brother that came down to check on him, came to DC to check on him. He was the one that handled Milwaukee. Many of Elijah Muhammad's grandson and great-grandson is named after him. Now the fallen American heroes, Kareem Rashid Khan and Brother Lieutenant Mushin. These are two fallen Muslim heroes. And these are other fallen Muslim soldiers. This is the Brown Star brother that Trump and his family members had issues. Now this here is a very unique book that I was blessed to come across with from a Muslim family of soldiers. To tell you the truth, the family are generations from the Brother John Bilal, who is the father, but in the book it shows that his father, his wife's father, his brothers, his wife's brothers, many of their family members have the tradition of giving service to the country. Well, here I just wanted to focus on Brother John Bilal, Sr., who was U.S. United States Air Force. Um, he was also a military air policeman. He was a boxer, a light weatherweight boxer, won a couple of championships. He was in service for 20 years. There's three generations of his family, of his own family. Three of his sons served, three of his daughters served, and five of his grandchildren have served and are serving today. So, he's a prime example of Muslims' engagement and involvement in America, and us being a part of the American fabric. Here's their oldest son, Michael Hutchins. Uh, he was also in the Army, as well as he was working with the Capitol Hill Police. And so they're still in service. Then you have Brother John, John II, their son. He served in the U.S. Marine Corps, as well as his son, John III. So three generations of this John Bilal has served in the service. And this John is a graduate of West Point and is a U.S. pilot. You see him flying over the D.C. there. And my other grandson is Michael Douglas Jr. He was in the Army. One of their daughters, may Allah be pleased with her, and mercy on her soul, Sister Angel Bilal Tillman. She was in the service, a nurse. She was a aromatherapist, herbologist, entrepreneur, and a singer. And one of her sons came in as part of the military as well. Jamil Bilal is working in the dialysis technician. So this is the family about service. Another sister or daughter of Brother Bilal and Sister Ruth Bilal. Sister Aisha Muhammad, I knew her more as a seamstress and a designer. But she was also a boxer, track and field runner, and very creative. And her son, Brother Omar, he's in the Army and also from West Point. So you got two of them from West Point. So you got generations of Muslims, Bilal's family, dedicating themselves to service of our country. Another son, Brother Omar Bilal, in the U.S. Army Division of Medicine and being a veteran, veterinarian and a technician. And then his wife as well. She's in the service. So it's a family tradition. Another daughter, Rashida Bilal Saunders, U.S. Army and combat medic. Another son, child, Saeed Shakur, and a granddaughter, Nadia Bilal Mitchell, in the U.S. Air Force. And her husband, Percy Mitchell III. So you see that the Muslims have been a part of American fabric and fought in all American wars. So this concept and this understanding that was something foreign, Islam and America doesn't work is a misperception. Is really is a lack of pure understanding or appreciation of the diversity and the uniqueness of the human being. So I just wanted to share with us some enlightenment on Muslims and American wars, that we are patriotic. They fought, there's many Muslims that fought to help defend this country. and families and generations of families of Muslims exist. As you saw, let's go through the glance of just a peek at some of the history of Muslims in America. And it wasn't just African American, but Muslims, for immigrants from all around the world, all aspects from the Muslim world, helped contribute and fought and defend this country and its rights for its freedom, justice, and equality. Um, so my dear audience, please take a look at the history and rich contributions that Muslims have done. They not only fought in many battles, but there've been many doctors, many contributions that they made. The George Washington Monument, the completion of that wouldn't have been done without the support of a Muslim ambassador from Turkey contributing to help finish the funding of the second phase of it. There's so many other things that Muslims help contribute to the richness of our country. The posters, the self stamp was created and designed by a Muslim from Somalia that worked for the post office. Of course, he didn't get credit for it, for working for the post office, but this is one of the contributions that we done. There's many others that you see that Muslims' character, Muslim deeds have played a very positive role. You see that positive role in Malcolm X. You see that positive role in Muhammad Ali. You see that even with today, many during this Black Lives Matter, you see that many people, especially the sports figures, use Muhammad Ali as an example. His skirts that when he stood up for what was right, freedom, justice, and equality, and wouldn't bend. He was a model for them and a stimulant for them. And you have the same example as well as in Mahabharati Muhammad. You have many people standing up towards the religion, towards coming towards closer to the Quran and its guidance than they did before. Um, so you see that there's many positive influence and contributions that we can contribute and we should contribute as model citizens, to the world. So I want to thank y'all for allowing me to come into your home and taking a few minutes of your time just to share with you some of the rich insights and some of the contributions that Muslims have done in the country and on all the battles from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War. And one of the things that I found very unique is these Azoros, these Azoris costume Islamic dress that they use and fought in many battles. And you think it's Americana, but when you look deeper and richer, these are the personalities, some Muslim, some non-Muslim, but wearing these Islamic Algerian warrior clothing and from many battles, as well as some of them being immigrants coming here and fighting for our country. As then those they use as camel herders. So I want to thank y'all. I pray that God guide us into the best of light and the best of the direction. And before closing, I do also want to, because we are coming up to Memorial Day, I do want to honor my family members that have contributed into all the battles. From my cousins that I've known, to my earliest ancestor, Dan Richardson, who was a cavalryman during the Civil War and passed during one of those battles. My father, Herbert West, who fought in World War II and well as the Korean War. As far as and my father-in-law, Charles Lowry, and then my brothers, James West, and my brother-in-law, Charles Lowry Jr. and my cousins, Lee Freeman, my uncles, and many of them um, that was willing to sacrifice for their beliefs and help defend and rightly in some cases, wrongly in some cases, America's mission. So I honor all y'all and pray that God accept the best of your works. And may everyone have a very peaceful and enjoyable Memorial Day. Peace out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.